Alrighty, so here I am inside. Now set up on a windowsill, because I like natural light. It's always a little nicer than artificial. So there's my little cup full of my little squiggly beasts. And I've also got this piece of saran wrap, okay? And I've got a lighter piece of paper, which I might not need because the paint on this windowsill is kind of light. And I've also got this darker piece of paper underneath. So saran wrap and then the lighter piece of paper and the darker piece of paper. There's a reason for that, of course, and you'll see in a moment that it's going to be quite necessary. Now, I've also got this straw, and I'm going to just take the top end off that straw in just a moment, if I can, just a second. See if I can do that without, boy, it's hard when you only have one hand. And there. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to suck on that straw. Of course, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my finger over the end of that straw in just a moment, and that's going to help me draw some water up out of the bottom. I'm basically going to go fishing now for these little tiny critters, and I'm going to take them over top of the saran wrap. I'm going to drop them on the saran wrap, and in that case, I can look at them a bit more clearly, especially if there's not so much water on top of them. So let's just give it a try now. Let's go fishing. Okay, here we go. I'm going to see if I can... Whoops. Oh, that's amazing. Look at those guys go. I want to get that little guy if I can. Oh, he's amazing. Look at that. Oh, I want to get that little dude if I can. Well, I'll just see who I got. Okay, I've got some water here. I bring it over and I drop it on top of my saran wrap. Oh, okay. So I've got something. All right. I see something already. Alrighty. Now, I'm going to move it over, first of all, to the white piece of paper. Okay, it's a darker little guy. And so, oh gosh, that's amazing. I've got one. Oh, that's phenomenal. Now I'm going to get my loop. I forgot to mention that I've also got a loop. Unbelievably, with these amazing cameras these days, phone cameras, you can actually put a loop in front of the lens. And whoops, if you don't drop it and break it. And then you'll find, actually, that the image is actually surprisingly sharp. Okay, so here's my loop in front of the lens. And now let's bring her up a little more closely. See if we can find that little guy. Oh, that's fantastic. That's really great. Wow, look at that. No, he's not so clear right now. I don't know why. That's a little better. There. Now I got him. Isn't that amazing? Now, I don't know if you can see this with the camera, but he's got actually some very interesting hairs on him. Oh, that's unbelievable. I'm going to take that loop away for a second, and I'm going to show you how incredibly small that is. Look at this. This is the tip of a pen up against that. So you can see how tiny that little guy really is. Now, I also brought along a piece of paper here. What I'm going to try to do, first of all, is I'm going to try to use that little paper I've got him lying on to get a reference as to how large he is. So he's a little bit, I guess, about a third of that line. Isn't that right? So if I were to come over here and draw him, the size of that little guy would be approximately that length. Isn't that correct? Oh, that's a bit too long, isn't it? I said about a third. So not that one. It's about a third. That's about right. I think that's approximately between a third and a half of one of those lines. Isn't that correct? Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the loop back out, and I'm going to see if I can draw that little fellow. Where is he? There he is. Wow, that's amazing. He's one of the smaller guys. Come on, can you focus? Come on, focus, little guy. There. Incredible. Alrighty. Now, there's so much to do. This is actually my second cup today. My little girl and I caught some earlier, and we had an amazing time looking at them. Now, the ones we caught earlier were a little bit older. It's funny. I've got, in this second scoop, I've got more of the younger guys. Now, these older ones, oh, I think I got one. Oh, I did. I got an older guy. I love it. I'm so lucky. Oh, that's fantastic. We watched some of these guys, and the way they move is just unbelievable. In fact, they're often called wigglers because, of course, they wiggle and wiggle and wiggle. Now, don't worry. He's not going to suffocate and die because this little mosquito larva actually breathes air. So he needs only a little tiny bit of water. As a matter of fact, the mother mosquito will lay her eggs in water as little as 2 centimeters deep. And so she realizes that's enough for them to live, actually. Now, this little fellow is quite a bit older than the first one I got out, as you can see. And he is probably ready to shed his skin. This morning, my little girl and I were watching while one actually shed his skin right in front of us. In fact, I was watching with my loupe as he pulled the skin off his head. And the way he did that was absolutely unbelievable. So here's what I want you to do. I'd like you to have a paper beside you if you can. Get a reference point for the actual size. That's the actual size of it. My first one I got out. Then I want you to see if you can find a little magnifying glass or loupe for yourself. And then try to do your best to draw a picture of one of these little guys. And then I'd like you to go on the website I'm going to provide for you in my email to you. And I want you to learn a bit about these little fellows. They're just fantastic. Now, once I finish observing these little mosquito larvae, of course, what I'm going to do with them is take them back out to the backyard, and they're going to go right back into that container to live their happy life. Now, I have to say, I'm not crazy about mosquitoes, and I've swatted the odd mosquito in my life. In fact, if a mosquito lands on me, I do swat him or her. But, I mean, I do feel guilty. They're marvelously incredible creatures. And when you read the little bit of a blurb I provide for you on this website, you'll find out that they have an incredible way of finding each other when they grow. They have an incredible short life cycle. They grow up in just a few days. So there's all sorts of great stuff to learn. But one of the best ways to learn, of course, is just to sit and watch. Sit and watch. Ah, fantastic. I could do this all day. Look at him. Look at him. Oh, he's amazing. Look at him go. Oh, incredible. Right in our own backyards. All right, my dears, that's the end of the video for today. Hope you can find some in your own backyard too. Bye.